Mm-hmm.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. This is the 9x9 Volleyball Show. It is Tuesday, May 31st. My name is Rob St. Clair, joined from Toronto, north of the border, by both Everett DeLorme and Dan Manili in our last show apart before I head north of the border to Ottawa for the Volleyball Nations League. Boys national team season is here. Finally, this past weekend was, I think, the first weekend of the entire year where we really had no volleyball to watch. But now, and Everett's right, literally right now, there is volleyball being played. I'm watching it on the other TV here in my office, live from beautiful Shreveport, Bossier City, Louisiana. Is Brazil versus Germany. Yeah, well,
you had to do it.
I mean, I'm going in on this stupid venue later on in this show. You better believe it. So Germany and Brazil are tied 1-1 literally right now, with the USA and Dominican Republic coming up later tonight. There were matches played this morning. It is official, gentlemen. National team season is here. Yes.
Sorry, I thought that deserved a round of applause. It feels good, doesn't it? And it's weird to say that because I like to let's say harp on the VNL at times, but once it's here, once it's time, it feels good. Like I haven't been to a volleyball event since 2020, and now I'm stoked. Like I'm ready to go to Ottawa. I'm ready to watch the women kick it off tomorrow night for Team Canada. I'm stoked to watch these matches today. Yeah, I'm excited.
Well, the matches today have just featured now for the second time in one match, like a professional level international match. The German women's team has been called out of rotation not once but twice.
Okay.
What is going on in Shreveport, Bossier City right now? Vital Heinen, get your crew together over there. He's getting yelled at by the down official right now. Oh, this is great.
If it's Vital Heinen, he's probably trying out some weird rotation, or honestly, he could even be doing it on purpose to mess with his opponents. Get them off track, something weird. I don't know.
I feel like Heinen is the type of coach to play mental games with his own team as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like just kind of trying to be back there, like manipulating them all.
Friendly reminder that Vital Heinen is now coaching the German women's team. There's been a lot of coaching movement this offseason. Some of it we'll get to. We'll get into some of the 14-player rosters for the women's this week, and we will get to the men's as we start to understand who's going to the tournaments that start next Tuesday. This might be a shorter show because of how much there's going to be coming the next couple weeks. And we'll talk about our content plan coming out of Ottawa and all that stuff. But let's jump in really quickly to women's VNL. So this is the overview of the pools for the entire tournament. But going on right now, starting today and going all the way through this Sunday, the VNL women's is in two places. It's in Ankara, Turkey, which is one of the great volleyball live viewing experiences in the world. And then quite conversely, you have Shreveport, Bossier City, Louisiana, USA, where I can see Vital Heinen patrolling the sidelines right now. He is one of approximately 30 people in that arena.
A bit of exaggeration there, but
it's rough.
The contrast between what we saw in the crowd at the Turkey versus Italy match earlier today and what we're seeing right now in this Germany versus Brazil match are two scary different scenarios. Scary different scenarios.
I think it's just some guy from Shreveport. He's like millionaire, just, hey guys, $5 million so I don't have to travel to watch volleyball. That's the only logical explanation for it.
I can't think of anything else. Really can't.
That being said, to maybe back up Shreveport, Bossier City a little bit.
No,
the game being played at the moment is not featuring the home team. Right. So let's wait and judge until 9 p.m. tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m. Central time, for when the USA takes on the Dominican Republic, because that's when we're going to get a true feel of how things are going. Right.
Yeah. It's tough to we have to give a disclaimer to our fans because we started this show in the middle of club season. And if you don't know anything about us, we're all, I would say, pretty impartial, fair. We don't have really, either of us have any favorites when we're doing club teams. However, we are very unashamed, unabashed homers when it comes to our national team. So 100%. It might be a bit of a different change in style if you're a new listener to the show.
which is, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm a gigantic American fan. These two boys are gigantic Canadian fans. Me and Everett had a great time last year, just roasting each other up ahead of the USA's beatdown of Canada at men's VNL. That was a really fun one. It did great views.
It was fun until the game started, and then it wasn't so fun for me.
I seem to recall TJ DeFalco just smoking Stephen Marr right in the face out of the pipe in that match, and
I do remember that too. Unfortunately,
good times.
Unfortunately,
So the trash talk seems to get more views. So we'll go at each other for our national. Our national teams going against each other. It's really what it's all about. And speaking of which, at least on the women's side this week, we have Canada versus USA. So just to set the stage for this week really quick, there's a lot of volleyball going on in two different places in the world. The format is a little bit confusing because you have 8 teams per pool, quote unquote, but it's not really a pool because you don't play everyone else in the pool. Each pool, all right, I'll just call them groups of 8 teams. They go to a place in the world. Groups is better. Yeah, they play for 6 days, and each team plays 4 matches. So you only play 4 of the other 7 teams in your group. I don't really know what to make of that. You do that 3 times. Every team will eventually play 12 matches in the preliminary round of VNL, and that creates there's not a guarantee that you play everybody. However, we do get USA versus Canada, so that's one we get to look forward to this week in the USA, although it might as well be a neutral site being in Shreveport, Bossier City, Louisiana. But that one is Friday night, USA versus Canada, 9 p.m. Eastern, I believe. A couple of the other matches that we were excited about. There's USA-Brazil, gold medal match rematch on the women's side. That's Saturday night. And then there was one this morning that we might as well jump into between Turkey and Italy. Boys, did you watch this match this morning?
No, I was at work.
I watched part of it, but once I realized what was going on, honestly, Turkey playing a very strong lineup, Italy, no Aganu, as they mentioned right away. A lot of other players missing. Pretty much just Chiricella and Monica De Gennaro were the only two, and Malinov, I guess.
Malinov, yeah.
But really, not. I don't think there are any super interesting threads with that Italian roster, unfortunately.
Let's take a look at the Italian roster that Dan's talking about. So just another thing to make clear about VNL, if you're a first-time watcher, the 25-player rosters for each country's team were unveiled about a month ago. And from those 25, each team can pick 14 players to travel with to each site to play. So every team each week of the 3 weeks of preliminary round play that there are may or may not bring a different set of 14 players. And not surprisingly at all, this first week with the 14 players, especially for the countries that have players that literally just finished up club season last week, for example, Italy, we're seeing a lot of these teams starting off VNL with less than their perfect or less than their Olympic or World Championship caliber rosters, most notably Italy here. So it was a nice, fun matchup on paper between Italy and Turkey if they both played their full teams, but that didn't even close to end up happening. As Dan was saying, really the only likely Olympic people even on the roster were Chiricella, Malinov, and De Gennaro, and really that was it. So it ended up being a 3-0 beatdown for Turkey in Turkey, and they brought the A team pretty much. Other than, I don't know, who were they really missing here? A couple of outsides maybe, but they had Karakurt, they had both Gunesh and Eda Erdem in the middle. They had Cansu Özbay, they had both liberos. This is pretty much the A team for Turkey, but they're playing in Ankara, so it makes sense.
But when is the last time I was kind of surprised to see Erdem on the roster. When's the last time she's played for Turkey?
I was surprised considering she's wrapped up with Fenerbahce 2 weeks ago, but I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, but the reality is that this is prime marketing time for the Turkish Federation, right? So I 100% expect them to see a different roster from this group next week, right? A more toned down roster going into group week 2 and week 3. But if you're ever going to bring your A squad, you do it, just after the Turkish season is done, right? What a better time to promote some of these players, all of the Vakif Bank players. They're fresh off a Champions League victory. This is when you want them. This is when you want them in the public eye. This is when you want them playing at home. This is when you want them on national television, right? So you're just building on that momentum. So I think it would be a huge waste of an opportunity for the Turkish Federation, who, might I add, seems to be one of the few federations that actually does it right in terms of marketing the sport, both at the national team level and at the professional level. with the measly Sultanliga and whatnot, even with the Effortler League on the men's side as well too. So yeah, I think this is exactly what I expect from the Turkish Federation, and I also love to see it because, as you remember, on Saturday I believe I did pick Turkey to win the women's side. So yeah.
There is one kind of interesting omission if you're considering this one of Turkey's strongest rosters. Tugba Sinolu from Vakifbank, who doesn't start for Vakifbank but did play a role in the European Championships last year and has, considered one of the stronger prospects for Turkey in the past. Likely going to be, we talked about last week about Vakifbank, how they keep these really good national team players on the bench and then start them. Tugba, do you guys think that's just because she's, was it Vakifbank so recently, or do you think, maybe she's losing a little favor on the Turkish national team?
Tough to tell, especially when Giovanni Guidetti is the coach of both Vakifbank and this national team, and he brought in Tuba Şenolu a couple times in the stretch run when they beat Fenerbahce in Turkey, and she was really, really good. And funny enough, that's really Turkey's only position of weakness is the left. I wouldn't say they have a top 10 or maybe even a top 20 player in the world at the outside hitter position in all of Turkey, at least not like an offensive minded, like score first sort of player. And that is the only reason why I don't see them as like a real threat to win this tournament yet, is because they don't have that outside hitter they can really lean on offensively. But yeah, I would expect Tuba Şenolu to be in the mix for a tournament like this. Like, who else is on here? Hande Baladin played okay today. Malia
Tuba is on the 25.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that's 25.
Right, so she's eligible for the next weekends and stuff like that. So run with who you got. Rest a few of them. Go with a different roster the next week. So yeah.
Turkey, by the way, next after this, hosting in Ankara, they go to Brazil for their second leg. And another thing that's important to note about format is, of the 16 teams on each side, 8 make the finals, which this year is way better than the VNL formats of the past. But if you host the finals, you get an automatic bid as always. So Turkey on the women's side is hosting the finals also in Ankara. So they of all teams could, if they wanted to, play an inferior lineup, rest players, and then show them up back in Ankara for the finals because they qualify. But men's, by the way, the finals in Bologna, Italy. So Italy, you could argue, could do the same thing. But now, like we've kind of framed in the last couple months, really the key here for this VNL that's different than so many others is the shifting of the entire national team format into how the world rankings points work and how it affects Olympic qualification and world championships and so many other things. Now, every single match you play matters. Every match. If you win in any like recognized FIVB match, you gain world ranking points. And if you lose world ranking points, regardless of pool phase, who you're playing against, whatever. You either win world ranking points or you lose them. And that is also based on your world ranking, the world ranking of the team you're playing against, and then the result of the match. So there's a lot going on there. I won't pretend to understand the math, but what you need to know is that every single match on the national team level between now and the 2024 VNL, the end of which the Olympic fields will be decided, every single match matters way more than they ever used to. So whereas we used to see a bunch of teams send B teams to VNL all the time, you cannot afford to do that anymore under the new system.
Which I think... Sorry,
go ahead. Go down.
There's just one very particular point that I really hate about the system, and that's the fact that 12 teams stay in VNL no matter what. So they get more like opportunities to play better teams and win ranking points. So I think you can't have both ways. You can't have like this VNL count for these really important tournaments and also have 12 teams perpetually in VNL with no indication of how they got to be one of those core teams. I mean, we all know what it is, but also no indication of how that could change, right? And all those conversations obviously happen behind closed doors. So
just to be clear, Dan's
yeah.
talking about money. Dan is talking about money.
100%. But that's and we just talked about this, right? When we talked about this on past episodes, when we discussed the changing of this format and the VNL, right? Is that you can buy your way into VNL,
China,
right? And
China on the men's side,
100%, right? And now that the fact that every single match is so weighted, it gives any VNL team a huge boost to make it to the Olympics, right, or make it to World Championships and be one of the top ranked teams in the world. So I agree with Dan. Like, I think that this is ultimately an issue, and there's also the whole other side of it that we talked about before, that we are we're running our players dry, right? Like, we just finished a massive club season that started with the European Championships, that had the Olympics before that had VNL before that. You know, like, there's no chances for our best players to repair themselves, to get better, right? To rest up. So,
and as much as the FIVB would rather have it changed, probably a lot of players are playing European Championships over VNL.
100%.
Oh yeah.
100%, no doubt about it.
This is not a European Championships year, by the way, but it is a World Championships year, so that extends the national team season for more teams in the world even further. Question in the chat really quick. Is China still a core team for VNL? Looked on Wikipedia. They're not listed as a core team or a challenger team. That's because they're neither. They're in this VNL only, replacing Russia straight up, because Russia was kicked out of all international tournaments in all sports. So that's why China's in. I don't know what the future of VNL will be for them. But boys, I have a devil's advocate take about the inclusion of some of these core teams, like continued participation in VNL. If you're a core team and you just, you get that automatic berth in VNL year over year, you don't have to do anything to earn it or keep it. But if you're a team that's not top 10, top 15 in the world, but you're playing VNL anyway, and every single year you're going like 2-10, 1-11, like, if you're just getting whooped up on a VNL all the time, all you're doing is making your world ranking position worse. If you're a not very good but like wealthy enough core team that continues to play VNL year after year, why would you want to keep doing that if it's actually hurting your chances to make the Olympics?
Because I don't think it's going to change the draft. Like, you'll just be at the bottom of those VNL teams, right?
Oh
like,
no!
I don't think it's
every match you lose hurts you. Even if you're the dead last team in VNL, even if you're playing the number one team in the world, if you lose a match, you lose points. And the mediocre teams, like Tunisia is a good example. We were talking about this when we initially thought that they were going to replace Russia in the field for men's VNL. It actually might be better for Tunisia, their chances to make the Olympics, to not play VNL. Because if they played VNL, they just go 0-12. Like, they just get, they might, I don't know, maybe they beat China, maybe they beat Australia, but they're not going to win very many matches.
But my question here is, do you get points for just, like, because in the past, like, even the teams finishing in last place at the VNL were still getting international points, right?
Not for participating in the tournament. You earn points for winning matches. So
there's no like first place gets X amount of points anymore towards the Volleyball Nations League. Okay.
No, I don't think so. I think
they would have to be, right?
But I really don't think there is. Maybe I don't know, podium, you get some bonus world ranking points, but I'm pretty sure that if just because you play VNL, if you go 0-12, you're gonna lose world ranking points. You don't get any just for playing.
But here's a hypothetical, Rob. It's definitely a fair point. I've thought about this as well, but it's an ELO ranking system, right? So if you're like 18th place Germany or whatever, 22nd place Tunisia, okay, if you go 0-12, you're gonna lose points. But if you catch a Poland or a France resting their starters and you happen to win one match, like, you can gain like 40 points and then you lose 1 or 2 points by losing to really top ranked teams, right? It'd be interesting to track, actually, exactly like with the payoff for some of these lower teams, because it is definitely an interesting question.
Dan's absolutely right, and that's a good point, just to make clear about kind of how the format works. If you're ranked, I don't know, 25th in the world, and you go up against Brazil, who I think is Brazil still number one on the men's side? They've got to be, right?
I believe so.
Might be close. Well, let's use a women's example, because everybody knows that the USA is the best team in the world on the women's side. That's not even close. So let's say you're the 25th ranked team in the world and you travel to lovely Shreveport, Bossier City. You get the USA resting their starters for one of these VNL games and you beat them. If you're ranked 25th in the world, you gain a ton of points for beating the number one ranked team. Also, the number one ranked team would lose a ton of points for losing to the team ranked 25th. But let's say you're the 10th ranked team and you beat the 9th ranked team. The exchange of points there is not nearly as much because of the much tighter disparity in world rankings. So Dan's right. If you're going to play VNL, if you're a bad team that plays VNL, you go 0-12, that hurts you. But if you go 1-11 maybe, or even 2-10, you might be coming out positive because of the value of those wins is going to be greater than the then how much those losses hurt you cumulatively.
I'm looking at the some of the numbers right now, and so I'm looking at like Brazil women just because they for the record, Rob, you're not going to like this, but actually Brazil men. I apologize. Yeah, Brazil men are still ranked, but when they lose, like when they beat Argentina, it's like plus 2.43. Beat Chile, it's like plus 0.65. But then losing to Argentina is minus 13.67. Right, losing to Russia was losing to Russia 3-0 was a minus 17.51. Whereas like as the top team, the most that I can see that they gained here by beating the USA 3-0, and that's 6.22. So
does the set score affect how many points you gain or lose as well?
It looks like it.
Yeah.
It looks like
that's interesting.
But here, let's see if we can go down to like a lesser team, like the Netherlands. Yeah, so they were losing. They were on the other side of it. Like losing matches in the VNL last year was like minus 1.8, minus 0.66, minus 2.53. So when you're one of those lesser teams and you're losing to the better teams, like it
doesn't hurt you that much.
Yeah,
but if you lose, if you net negative. After 12 matches of VNL, let's say you don't make the playoffs. If you net negative in world ranking points, it technically hurt you to participate in the tournament.
That's a good point. So maybe it's more fair than we're giving it credit for. So let's. I think we should track some of these teams and see. Like you can even check last year, honestly.
I know the points go all the way back through. They go through to the 2019. If you look on the rankings and click details, so you can see every single match that they've played. Like Olympics, it looks like Olympics, European Championships, VNL is here, Olympic qualifying. So it's every single match is there.
Okay, well let's pick a couple of these. So on the women's side, Everett, do you have the world rankings up still?
I can jump to the women real quick.
Yeah. So USA, I assume, is ranked number 1. It would be ridiculous if they weren't.
USA, Brazil, China, Turkey, Serbia, Dominican, Italy, Russia, Japan, Netherlands, Germany, Poland, Belgium, Korea, Colombia, Thailand, Bulgaria, Puerto Rico, Canada. There we go.
Oh yeah. So let's follow 3 teams here. Let's follow the USA women, the Brazilian women who are playing right now, and I actually want to put up their roster really quick for this week in the USA. As like we said, the next 2 weeks from now, they'll be hosting in Brasilia on the women's side. Let's follow the world rankings of the USA and Brazil, and then let's also follow Canada because they're one of the lower ranked VNL teams on the women's side. Let's see if they net positive world ranking points at the end of this tournament. That'd be kind of
it'll be interesting to see. Although I do think we're going to do way better than we did last season. We can get that into a little bit and get into that a little bit.
Okay, so anything about this Brazilian roster, this gentleman, while they're up 2-1 on Germany right now, I don't really think there's that much to talk about here. This is pretty clearly at least a B lineup to some degree. I mean, you've got Macris, but no Gabi, no. There's not much of anyone else who started at the last Olympics that I can see.
No. And I mean, that's the thing that you're going to get with Brazil, and Italy's the same thing. You know what you have at the top of your roster. You know what's going on there. You know how good they are. And all of those players have just done deep runs. Like Gabi, like she was in the Champions League final just like 2 weeks ago.
She really deserves some time off.
Absolutely. Sure. She deserves some time off, right? And so like for a team like Brazil, it's a chance to get these younger athletes in. So very, very, very different, I think, than the North American approach mainly.
And it looks like on the other side of the court. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say about Brazil because Brazil was your pick to win this tournament, Dan. I mean, all you really have to do is manipulate your roster in such a way that you make the final 8 and then play the starters in the final 8 and hope you win the tournament. But
100%.
Does this start for Brazil in terms of the 14-player roster surprise you? Is this part of the roadmap towards winning the VNL?
It's a little surprising to me because, I mean, we saw a little bit with the women last year, but Brazil tends to bring a lot of their good players, or at least the ones they can convince to play.
Yes,
so I'm a little surprised at this. And I think it was Clayton on the first match. He says, it's hard to make the finals in the first round, but it's also quite easy to drop out.
Said. In a golf tournament. Golf saying a 4-day tournament, you can't win a tournament on Thursday, but you can certainly lose it on Thursday. And maybe the same applies here in the VNL.
I mean, they're doing pretty well actually against like a fairly good German team with like Hannah Ortman and Jennifer Janiska, Camille Whitesell, Mary Schozel. So like a lot of the good younger German players are here. So
Yeah,
if they win this game, that's actually pretty. Yeah.
Yeah, and the sets have been competitive so far between what I don't really know what Germany's like world championship starting 7 would be, and now that they have Vital Heinen, maybe that's even harder to predict than before. But they're hanging in there well with Brazil's B team. Like I would expect that matchup to be pretty competitive.
Who do we think the weakest team in this pool is? Is it Germany or is it because the other team is Dominican, right?
In this pool?
Yeah,
like the one that's
this group in
the group that's in Louisiana,
or
right
is
now?
it Canada?
It might be Canada.
I think it's Canada, to be honest.
So this group, like let's take a look at them.
It's a good transition into
Germany,
let's
Brazil, U.S., Dominican, Poland, Canada, Korea, Japan. Like I think, unfortunately, Everett, the Canadian women might be the weakest team in that pool. Take it from here.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with that. Because how many teams at this tournament have 2 top 5 scorers from 2 of the best leagues in the world, right? Or 2 top 10 scores, right? Kira Van Rijk was a top scorer for THY in the Turkish league this year, and Alexa Gray has been one of the best scorers in Italy for Busto Arsizio last year, right? Canada got some good wins last year, and that was without Alexa Gray. That was with a rookie Brie King, a rookie. Why am I forgetting her first name? Howe. Same thing with Andrea Mitrovic.
Hillary
Howe. Yes, thank you. I was just thinking of her brother Jackson the entire time. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Hillary. That was with a rookie team and without arguably your best player. Now you have all these athletes that are a year older, a year more experienced, and you've got your 2 anchors. You've got Kira Van Rijk and you've got Alexa Gray.
And you've got your setter. Yeah.
And you've got your setter who has a year, another year of pro volleyball underneath their belt. You got a couple of left side options. You're really, really strong down the middle. Like even when you go on to the next ones with Alicia Ogums, she plays in Italy, or I don't even know if the Ogums is on this week's roster. I can't really read the graphic on our screen there. But I'm like Maglio is a great middle in Turkey. She's going to play for THY next year.
In Turkey,
yeah, she had a great season and has had a couple of great seasons for Niloufer. Like Jen Cross is coming fresh off a Greek championship win, playing for Panathinaikos. Like I think this roster is going to do some good things. Like when we're playing teams like the Dominican Republic and when we're playing teams like Germany, like Korea, I think this team has a chance to win. I really truly do.
Okay, but you said why they're a good team, but who do you see them finishing above when all the dust is settled on this pool?
Like I could see them finishing above the Dominican, right? The Dominican is an old team, right? Like sure you still have Big Beth, but like she's getting up there in age. They haven't really been producing much good talent, quality talent in the past few years, right? So definitely better than the Dominican. I'm not going to say
Brenda Castillo as well, though.
Yeah, but awesome libero. Awesome.
Yeah, but like, dude, how old is she now? Right? Like, and like this
she's a libero. Like,
this is a team that like they were close to beating last year, right? And they were close to beating last year at the Norsika Championships without Emily Maglio, without Alexa Gray, right? So like they had some holes in the roster at the time, and they've been able to fulfill it. I just think that this Canadian team, I don't think we're going to make the playoffs necessarily. Actually, I don't think we're going to make the playoffs. That's a huge stretch to say, but I do think that they're coming to play and they're coming for some wins this year round.
Okay, let me look for the people listening on the audio podcast. I'm just going to read down the 14-player Canadian roster for Louisiana this week. And Everett, I want your take on: is this their A team? Like, if they were to go to World Championships, would this be their 14? Setters: Brie King and Courtney Baker. Opposites: Kira Van Rijk and Sydney Grills. Outside hitters: Alexa Gray, Hillary Howe, Caroline Livingston, and Andrea Mitrovic. Middles: Jen Cross, Jazz White, Emily Maglio, Alyssa Fitterer. Liberos: Julia Merman and Katerina Georgiadis. I'm not familiar with her, but yeah, that's
Georgiadis. I'm pretty sure she's still in. Georgiadis is still in the NCAA. She's been with our junior team for a while. Her parents once drove me home from a practice. Nice people. True story, actually. When she was with the the Scarborough Titans Volleyball Club, now just the Titans Volleyball Club. Regardless, I'm I'm going on. That's more or less the A team schedule or roster. I do think that our S2 second place setter is going to be Kim Robitaille, who played in France this year. Obviously, our second opposite should be Shaina Joseph, who also had a pretty good France this year. Now, Joseph's been with the national team for a number of years, and she's been playing pro for a number of years, so I could see her having a summer off. But yeah, more or less, like the left side is definitely where it's going to be interesting, like who's going to be playing that P2 between Hillary Howe and Andrea Mitrovic. Who was the fourth outside hitter you said again?
Ooh, wait! I already moved away so I could look up
Sorry.
the American
Carolina
Livingston.
Oh, Caroline Levinson. Like she's like a solid pro. Has been playing in France for the past few years, and she's a good service option, but isn't really going to be playing full-time minutes. So there's like a few names, like the main names that I'm missing from there, more or less, is like Shaina Joseph, Kim Robitaille, and then the other one would be Vicky Savard on the left side as well. But yeah, more or less our A team.
Okay, well, yeah, let's see what they can do. I mean, Canada in action tomorrow, right? Is their first match?
Yeah, tomorrow night, 6 p.m. is a match number 1.
Versus Poland.
Versus Poland, yeah. So, I mean, it's that Polish squad is going to be really interesting too, right? Because you're bringing back Asia Volage, and
but
so
no
that's
Magdalena Stisiak, no Malvina Smarzak. Like, other than Volosh, I don't recognize very many like top level club names.
No,
from the Polish
a few middles and stuff like that. Real quick though, just going back to Team Canada, just real quick, and then it says from Jordan, LOL, I played against Sydney Grills in high school. She was on the boys team and she was the best player at her school.
Okay, that's
good to know. Good to know.
So crazy.
You know, I like this Canadian team, and actually, you've convinced me. Now I think they will be the Dominican Republic, but I like our starting 7. But like you're right, I don't know. I'm not convinced by this depth. So I think they need to bring this roster like to everything.
Depth is the issue for sure. Like even with the players that we're bringing, like our backup setter and right side are very green. Like I barely know who they are, and really we're only 3 outside hitters deep on the other side. There's a lot of depth in the middle. That's the best place, and when both China and Kier Van Rijk are there, there's some good things. But there's some really good young players coming up in the system right now. So I think that depth is going to be filled out in the next few years, much like we saw with the men's team over the course of the 2010s.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask, Everett, just before we move off Canada. Do they have to bring like some combination of 14 players that includes that starting 7 or 8? Do they have to bring that every week? I think they probably do.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And I mean, we saw it with their roster last year where they mostly played the same athletes the entire single time.
Yeah,
right?
They did.
Like Van Rijk was dog tired by the end of it. And especially with last year's event, like that was just so much. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think we're going to see a little bit more leeway with the roster this year because we do have those anchors with Alexa and Kira, and we have those that just added experience with the other players. But absolutely, like this team goes no more than 10 deep, if that.
Yeah, that's fair, and it makes sense for them to travel to everything. And you make a good point about comparing last year's event to this year and the schedule, because last year it was you played every other day for a month, and that was it. This you play 4 matches in 6 days, and then you have about 10 days off. Although there's a lot more travel involved there, you're only playing 12 matches total in about 6 weeks. So.
It's still way better than it was before, where like you were finishing up on Sunday and then traveling Monday, sometimes 2 travel days. Then like you have to write off that day because you're just at your hotel fried, and then you start up again. Like this is definitely improvement.
It's much better for the athletes, but I think it still starts a little too early. We have a note in the chat. Quick correction in the FIVB ranking system: you don't have to win a match to gain ranking points. A big underdog can gain ranking points just by winning a set off of a good team. So and that's totally a fair point. So set record does matter for that.
But I think you need to be ranked like 30.
Yeah, have we seen that in practice ever? That'd be interesting.
That's the thing that we're gonna have to keep track of a little more closely. Is like, let's say, I don't know, let's say when Canada plays USA a couple nights from now, they grab a set. Does that result in them netting positive in world ranking points?
No, they're way too close to each other. It has to be like 30 to 1.
Upset. Yeah. Do you guys remember a huge upset recently that we can go track? What about Turkey, Russia on the men's side?
You know what I can think of is when Canada beat. Bringing it back to us now. But when Canada beat
Canada beat China last year?
Yeah, China. So I'm going to look that up right now. It was a 3-setter.
Yeah, that would have been a huge world ranking swing. I'm wondering if a team ever lost 3-1 and gained world ranking points. But
that was only plus 13 for beating China, but it wasn't 3 sets. Whereas it was also plus 13 to beat Germany the next. So that's the thing. Like Canada got wins. Like we beat Serbia, we beat Germany last time. Like there's the potential there to do good things.
Yeah, Canada's no joke. I would never classify Canada as a joke of a team on the women's side. Let me see who would I pick to get relegated over them.
Bulgaria.
I think Canada's definitely better than Bulgaria. I think Canada's better than Thailand.
Oh yeah,
especially seeing how they came out today. Thailand stomped Bulgaria 3-0.
Thailand destroyed Bulgaria. I mean, Bulgaria didn't have Vasileva, who just got married to Alexander Atanasievich this past weekend. So she's the only player.
Lovely
in Bulgaria.
couple, lovely couple. Nice people.
Well-deserved time off. But there's a reason why Bulgaria got stomped this morning by Thailand, and reason why we're not talking about that match. All right, a match going on later tonight that we should be talking about and that we will be talking about is about the defending champions. The United States women's team kicks things off at home, quote unquote. Shreveport Bossier City is not home. I want to make that clear. There are no athletes from there. There are no volleyball players from there. There's no volleyball played there. There's nothing there. This is as annoying to travel to for an American as any of the other sites in the entire VNL. But this is what we've got, and this is the American 14-player roster that we have for this week, and this is about as close to a B team as the USA could field right now. The only top level position is opposite. You have both Annie Drews and Jordan Thompson, and because Annie Drews played in Japan, she had a much shorter season. She's been off for a little while now. And Thompson was coming off some level of an injury, so she's been in the States for a while now as well. Everyone else really is somebody that wasn't playing elite level European club volleyball. It's not a lot of Olympians. Actually, there's none, if I'm not mistaken. I think Drews and Thompson are literally the only two Olympic gold medalists who would be on this roster. So at setter, you've got Lauren Carlini and Jenna Gray. Gray's first look ever on the senior national team, but this will be Carlini's tournament to run the show for sure. Annie Drews, Jordan Thompson on the right. Both of those will see a lot of time. I actually wouldn't be that surprised if you saw them both on the court at the same time, perhaps. Outside hitters, Maddie Kingdon, Sarah Wilhite, Kara Bayama, and Ali Franti. All four good players. Franti and Bayama real up-and-comers, and Kingdon and Wilhite have been kind of hanging around the program for a long time and have seen minutes, just never quite broke through to the starting level, although who can blame them with like Jordan Larson, Kim Hill, Barch, like players like that up ahead of them. But I expected Kara Bayama to be the best and most often seen outside hitter out of these four. She's going to play for Vakif Bank next year. She had a phenomenal year in Rzeszów in Poland this year. I would not be at all surprised. I expect her on the World Championship roster later this year, and I could see her on the Olympic roster in 2024. So I'm really high on Bayama, and I expect her to get a lot of touches. Middles, Tori Dixon, Breon Butler, Dana Retke, and Anna Stevenson. We know about Dana Retke. She just made the jump over to play in Italy. Tori Dixon's been around forever. Past that, a couple of young pieces. Breon Butler out of Texas, Anna Stevenson, I think, is out of Louisville. Both making their way overseas, and I'm curious to see how much run they both get this tournament. Then at libero, Morgan Hentz and Kendall White. So two liberos on the women's roster. That'll be Morgan Hentz's spot. I expect the world to really get to know her the way that those of us who watched her play at Stanford already know. So
Stanford legend.
Totally. This is a B team, just to be super duper clear. This is a B team. And I mean, even though it's a B team, they could easily walk out of Shreveport Bossier City 4-0 because it's Brazil's B team. It's, I mean, who else does the U.S. play? We're playing Dominican Republic tonight. That's super winnable, despite the rosters. Then Canada on Friday is winnable. Brazil on Saturday will be the tough one. And then Japan. Like, it's not impossible for this group of 14 Americans to go 4-0 this week.
I don't know. Now that I'm looking at this roster, Rob, I'm feeling better about our chances on Friday. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, that okay. That's an interesting take. We might have to put something on that.
What do you mean that's an interesting take? You're bringing out a pure B team against what is going to be our A team. You're bringing in players who have very little pro experience against players who have played at the top level in the world. Like, might I remind you that Alexa Gray put Busto on her back last season?
Remind you.
You know what I mean. Whatever.
This sounds like a very similar discussion, Everett, is to like the underdog mentality you had debating the Canadian men over me last year, and we also have that one went.
Everett, here's an interesting question: what positions do you think Canada has the advantage?
Left side and right side, or right side.
Not right side, not even close. Thompson and Annie Drews are both better players than Kira Van.
But are they here this week?
Yes, we just talked about this.
You're right. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. You're right. Okay.
Listening skills.
I think Kira Van Ryk is close, though. I think Kira Van Ryk is close to those.
Kira Van Ryk is within that conversation for sure. And I would 100% I would put Kira Van Ryk on ahead of Annie Drews for sure.
I would not.
And
I would also put her ahead.
I love
Jordan Thompson.
You love Annie Drews, and isn't she a good old Purdue Boilermaker?
I absolutely love Annie Drews.
There it is.
I've known her for years, but I think she's a better player than Kira Van Ryk right now.
I would fully disagree, and I think both of their stats speak in my favor from this past season.
I think the Olympic gold medals are pretty disparate.
Yeah, but once again, as you've said yourself, the USA is never reliant on just one athlete, but how they work together as a team.
Absolutely.
So, whereas Canada was purely on the back of Kira Van Ryk last year. And I mean, hey, where did Annie Drews play this year?
Japan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. I think that Japan versus Turkey.
I mean, if you got paid that much to go and win a league and play half the duration of the season, wouldn't you? I would.
I mean, this is not a question about.
Yeah, we're not on here flexing about Siobhan Vernon Evans and Bartosz Kurak,
right? Because that's if Everett dares bring up Siobhan Vernon Evans' fantastic
no.
You never, Japan again. I'm hitting him with that same argument.
You never cross the sexes. You can't argue. But it's true. You can't argue. No, but you can't argue something on the women's side and bring in men's.
Well, no, but you know that if you're talking down on Annie Drews for playing in Japan this year, and then you're bringing up the fact that Siobhan Vernon Evans had a phenomenal season in Japan, he's ready to be a top 5 option in the world.
Am I gonna rate that compared to someone whose season was in Italy? It's the same thing. I'm gonna say that's
in Siobhan's case. Yeah, I think you might.
Right. Well, I mean, absolutely, because the year before the last season when he was in Ravenna, he scored 300 plus points, and then he had to play for that stooge wearing the yellow, red, and black right now for Germany, and then he got nothing. So that's why he's in Japan. But let's talk about women's volleyball here.
Oh my God! I mean, that kind of wraps it up. I'm curious to see how this USA team plays this week. It'll be Lauren Carlini at the helm setting. It'll be opposites getting a fair amount of the balls. Maybe we'll see a look at what a USA team would be like that is a little more opposite reliant. We'll see how Dana Retke plays. I expect her to start a lot of matches. We'll see how Morgan Hens plays. I expect her to start most of the matches. Yeah, I mean, I think it's possible for this American team to go 4-0 this week, but I'm not sure that that's Karch's plan. I don't think he's certainly not a results-driven coach by any means. He's just trying to give these girls a look, get the best out of them that he can this week. Put on a show that's not totally embarrassing in the embarrassing site that is Shreveport, Bossier City, and then move on to the rest of the tournament when they're playing big and better teams.
I have two things to wrap things up here. First and foremost, one of the biggest interesting things for me to watch the USA this weekend is going to be Dana Retke, because we've seen her in so many different stages already. It was 5-6 months ago when we were watching her in an NCAA final, leading a team to a championship. Dominating. And then she moves straight to one of, the best league in the world, playing in the Champions League, playing against the best teams in the world. Right off the bat, she played against Canigliano and Vakufbank. And let's remember how dominant she was early on in her time with Monza, and it kind of fizzled out. So I'm really interested to see how that progression is and how she's going to be reacting now that she's a full-time member of the national team. She's a full-time pro, and how that transition is going to be made. Because I won't lie, I was a little disappointed with how she finished the season at Monza, how she came in so emphatically. I really thought that she was going to add a lot to that team, and she kind of fizzled out towards the end.
It's tough though. It's her first season overseas, coming in the middle of the season.
I agree.
I fully. That's why I'm interested to see how she.
I think she'll do great. I think she'll do great.
That's essentially my thesis as well. And then finally, Rob, there was a correction for you in the chat, please. It's saying that Sharifieh Bosport City no, Shreveport, Bossier City, butchering it right now.
Oh, good.
Does have something, and it is the largest American export, and that's crime. So you can't say they have nothing. Some people have things that belong to other people.
Oh my
it's
God.
the most crime.
It's up there.
Oh
it's up there. Yeah, their crime numbers are just horrifying amongst
right
cities
along
much
with
bigger than theirs.
Right along with the beautiful city that Rob is in right now, Chicago.
Yeah, it's bad in Shreveport, Bossier City, and they have really there's literally no redeeming qualities. I was cherry picking like reviews on the internet of people who have lived there that are just going in on how terrible of a town it is, and we don't need to talk about it anymore. If you're watching on Volleyball World TV, like literally right now, unfortunately you're subjected to it for this week, but. Hopefully I can stop like actively hating USA Volleyball after this week when we're out of that place. And as for women's this week, I mean, that's kind of it. There aren't that many like blockbuster matches. It's kind of just getting back into it, getting some new faces involved, giving some of the usual like international superstars a break. I think USA Canada will be fun. I think USA Brazil on Saturday will be fun. And I think that's kind of about it. So let's now shift our attention, gentlemen, to the men's. And before we talk about men's VNL, we have a very important piece of news coming out of men's volleyball today.
I thought we were going to lead the show with this because I think this is the biggest news in the volleyball world right now. The fact that Wilfredo Leon is getting surgery and will be out for the rest of the summer.
Yes, unfortunately, Wilfredo Leon, as we've documented well on this show, we were suspicious that he was having some non-trivial issues with his knee towards the end of his season in Perugia. When I was watching him, I couldn't tell like if he had an injury and if I could like pinpoint that he was limping on his knee or whatever. It just didn't look like, based on his production, his explosiveness, that he was totally at 100%. But as it turns out, he posts on Instagram today, quote, he does this in English, by the way, so I'm not reading off Google Translate. As you probably know, for the last 3 months, I've been struggling with pain right below my left knee. After consulting my state with specialists from Sweden, Poland, and Italy, it became clear to me that I would need a surgery. It's scheduled to take place next week, and the recovery time is estimated to be between 1.5 and 3 months. Therefore, I will miss the VNL tournament, and there is a large question mark if I will be able to win a spot in the team for the World Championships. It's a tough moment for me because I always tried to do everything to avoid surgeries, but I know that getting back to trainings with the national team right now would be too painful and too risky for my volleyball career. I believe I will come back stronger, and I'll be ready to fight for trophies in the upcoming tournaments. So, gentlemen, first let's talk about the effect here on Wilfredo Leon. We're not going to see him in VNL. I'd say it's a 50-50 chance at best that we see him in World Championships. But could this maybe be a good thing for his long-term career, just to take the summer off, get this problem fixed, come back in the club season 100% and ready to make a push towards Paris?
I mean... the reality is that we're talking about long term on a guy who's like 28, right? Like he is in the middle of his career, right? Like he's right in the thick of it. And Leon's always dominated by his pure power and, you know, just ferociousness. Like he's a fantastic athlete. So to me, this could kind of mark maybe the end of what we know as Wilfredo Leon, right? Like he's never suffered an injury like this. He's never had to go through this kind of big rehab process. I think this is going to be the first time he's ever had surgery, right? So, like we're not talking about like a young, spry 24-year-old here. We're talking about a 28-year-old who's starting to feel the bumps and bruises of having played a long time, right?
Well, and that's the other thing. This isn't like he's 28, but he's been playing on the highest level since he was 16.
That's what I wanted to bring up.
And training Cuba on the pavement before that. So
yeah. So like his body is beat up.
On the other side though, Robert Landy Simon is still like 30, 34.
But he had so many summers of just not playing national team. He doesn't have the wear and tear like Wilfredo since jumping back into national team play with Poland has. I think this is a good thing for him. Everett, you're overblowing the significance of this surgery significantly. It's not reconstructive. Yeah. There's no ligament damage. There's nothing really going on here. It's because
it sounds like he's just getting fluid drained. It's like patellar tendonitis or something. He's just getting like a
that's nothing. That's a surgery that that athletes will do when real athletes actually have off seasons that they'll do and not miss a single game's worth of time. Like they'll play through the playoffs. They'll get that surgery as soon as the off season happens. They'll come back for training camp in North American sports and they'll be just fine. We just don't have that in volleyball, so he's forced to miss some time somewhere. This is not a big deal. Not a big deal. 1.5 to 3 months of recovery time is nothing, especially for a knee surgery that can be so much more severe than that. I'm not worried about Wilfredo at all. I think that if we don't see him for Poland at all this summer, that's actually going to be good for him. And my next question is it good for Poland? You're losing the best player in the world. It can't be good. But can Poland still compete for a trophy at VNL and for another third consecutive win at World Championships without Wilfredo Leon there? Can that still be done?
Well, first of all, for just to finals on your first question, like I do think that him not playing the summer at all is a good thing, right? Regardless of all of that. But I'm kind of looking past that, right? Is he going to be better when he comes back? Are we going to see the return of what we saw? And that is where I'm kind of questioning things. But taking the summer off, great idea, including the World Championships. Give everyone else a chance. Because to answer your second question, Poland can absolutely still win it. Like you've got like the three outsides that just won back-to-back Champions League, just won the Plus Liga. Right? Like you're telling me that any team that would win the world wouldn't take the three outside team of Semeniuk and Slivka and Kazmarek? Like that's still a team. And plus you look at everyone else around them, still 100% one of the best teams in the world. Not to mention the depth of that squad. Now you just have to bring in, you get the chance to bring in like someone like Fornal or maybe Kwolek. There's so many options with this Polish roster that hell, maybe it benefits them in the long term because you're getting some of these players a chance to come in and play.
Yeah, I agree with you, Everett. I think they're still going to be fine. I think it's definitely the more interesting question is like who are those players going to be, right? Because you have, I think we all in agreement. Semeniuk after the season he just had is basically a lock. And I would have said the same thing for Alexander Slivka, a year ago. But he, as we've gone over on the show before, and as we saw in the Champions League in the last few rounds there, that he didn't have the best year, and whether that's just a temporary thing, or that's going to be the player he's going forward, I don't know. I think he's still could provide a lot of receptions, so I think there's a lot of value that way. But another guy we have to consider, Fornal, obviously very good as well. But Bartosz Bednarz, who I feel like has somehow escaped a lot of discussion the last couple of years, despite being having one of the best one of the best players in the Italian Super League a few years ago with Modena. And then last year getting buried on Zenit Kazan, in which we all haven't watched as much. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think Bartosz Folek is kind of out of the picture at this point. Everett, would you agree with that? Yeah,
I would.
So Rob, who of those two guys would you start?
So it comes down to two different philosophies, sort of. Do you keep the chemistry that's worked before with Semeniuk and Slivka, and sort of the two different types of outside hitters, where Semeniuk now is very clearly an L1, even though it's usually Slivka that lines up next to the setter. Semeniuk's the high ball scoring guy. He's the guy that you can set more balls. And Slivka now is less so that guy. He's the craftier one. He's the ball controller one, even if the numbers don't totally back that up. That's the roles that they play. Or do you put in a Bednarz or a Fornal, who are both kind of the same type of player, a bigger, more offensive-minded player, next to Semeniuk, who I think really could play either role, but this past season in Zaksa was the offensive piece on that team that they had to have going, even more so than their opposite. And I think you could go either way there. But those four, Semeniuk, Slivka, Fornal, Bednarz, that's a world championship group of four outside hitters right there.
You can literally just be like this and just grab it and be like, okay, we're playing this number and this number today from that group. Yeah, but I kind of agree with you. I kind of agree with you, Rob, there, that I almost think that maybe just because of the way that Slivka differentiates himself from the other three outside hitters, that we're going to see him the most, right? Because he fits into that P2 position perfectly. He passes well. He plays great defense. He deals with a lot of out of system stuff fantastically, right? If he's not scoring, he's putting the other team in a bad position, putting them out of position, out of system. And then, hey, let's wrap it up with our defense and our block, right? So I think we might see a lot of Slivka over the course of the VNL, just because he can slot in as that P2 guy, getting, a fraction of the sets, coming in with 11, 12, 13 points a game while the other guys are running the show.
What do you think the odds are that we get 5 of the starters from Zaxa in like a final match with Poland.
I kind of want to see the
Hi.
roster like that is all 7 Zaxa guys, like not at least Zaxa within the past 3 or 4 years. Which
Yeah,
you
bringing
could
like
make
Zatorsky
you
and
could make a
stuff.
really good one of the last 2 years because you have
Yes, you
Zatorsky and
could.
Kohanovsky with this year's roster.
You're just missing one middle because Huber tore his Achilles, going to be out
it's
until
gonna be out for a while.
early
True.
2023.
Yeah.
But so at that point, you bring in Mateusz Biniak, and he played for Zaxa in 2019. So like you could then Zatorsky, Janusz, the 3 Zaxa wings currently, like you can have a full like Zaxa lineup plus Zaxa's coach from last year, Nikola Grbic, who we've got to just talk about the fact that he is now at the helm of this Polish squad. You don't have to worry about Heinen keeping in Zizka and Kubiak for way longer than they should be anymore. You could play literally an entire team of Zaxa guys, and somebody made the point in the Discord today. It might be one of the really rare cases where we could potentially get a look at how a club team matches up against national teams. It might be the closest we could ever get.
Here's my question for you guys. Is there any other pro team in the world that has as a significant impact on their national team?
Zenit Kazan.
True.
But there are a couple other really good ones in Poland too.
But even like Zenit Kazan, like they're always relying on foreigners. Whereas if you look at Zaxa, like their top foreigners are realistically role players, right? Like with Smith and Shoji. Like I think the only other
player?
I mean, he's a top 3 libero in the world without any question.
Yeah, for sure. But unfortunately, he's still like the libero. And while I do agree with his TikTok rants that a libero should be, coveted more and more respected and paid more, right? At the end of the day, very few times is a libero more than a role player. Right? Like they're not putting points up.
We don't have to fundamentally debate the nature of the position. Yeah. I'm curious about Poland because without Leon this summer, this might be an opportunity for them to relearn how to win major international tournaments without him, like they were able to do before he got there. And really, since he got there, I don't think he was really a factor in 2018 at the World Championships. Right? I don't
think he was on the team yet.
I think he was just before he was eligible to play. And Poland, since that tournament, has not won a major international tournament. So we talked about it in club. Winning is a learning curve, and maybe this is a nice opportunity for Poland to figure it out again before they get the best player in the world back in the mix next year.
Do you think Leon wanted to have the surgery earlier and was pressured by Cersei and Perugia to delay it till after? Because the timing there seems a little exact.
No, I think he did what any athlete would do. I think you have an injury that you can play through, and you just do it, and then you get your surgery in the off season. But like I said, in volleyball, we don't have an off season, which is totally not fair, and we've talked about it many times. And so he's going to get the surgery done now. But I think like NBA Finals, for example, or NHL playoffs, any of those guys that are still playing in those 2 leagues that had this injury, they'd play right through it and get the surgery when the season ends. I don't read into it that much.
I fully agree with that.
All right, let's look elsewhere around men's VNL because here's the schedule. Here's where we're going. We're going to Ottawa, boys. Canada is. We actually didn't even talk about it on the women's side. Canada also hosting, but that's in several weeks in Calgary. We'll talk about that when it comes closer. But what is extremely close is Ottawa. Not only is Canada hosting a week of men's VNL again, but all 3 of us, me, Everett, and Dan, will be there. I will be there the entire week. Everett will be there even more than the entire week. And Dan will be there at the very, very tail end. So that will affect a lot about this show. What we're going to have, it'll be a very different week of content from Volleyball Source and from the 9x9 than what you're used to. For example, next week, next Tuesday during normal show times, will literally be during a match. So we won't have a show. But Everett and Dan, we were talking about this just before we came on today. Give the people kind of a rundown of what they can expect from us next week because we will have boots on the ground in Ottawa. That means content, and you're not going to want to miss it.
So much content. Basically, my content, Volleyball Sources content, is going to be starting on Saturday on the 4th. That is going to be game 2 between Canada and France to get things going. So I will be there. Classic Volleyball Source highlights are coming. They're going to be baseline. I can't wait. I'm even considering just filming from both baselines because why not? Sounds like fun. So yeah, we're going to be starting with that. We're going to be getting in there doing some interviews. Sunday, I will be checking things out, probably the venue and whatnot. Monday, because Rob will be at Annie on Sunday night. Monday, we're going to spend all day watching out some teams practice and doing some interviews. Tuesday is when we're going to get kicked off. So what we're going to be doing for the VNL is we're going to be going live pre-game on the Volleyball Source YouTube channel, just like we do our podcasts. It's going to be Rob and I, maybe Claire Hannah. We're going to invite her, and if she's around, she's obviously more than welcome. Come to Legend, she knows exactly what she's talking about. And then Dan, once he's there, so we're all going to be doing live pre-game. Obviously, day by day, we're going to let you know what the time is there. I think earlier on in the tournament, games are at like 4:30 and 7, and then later on, there's 3 games throughout the day. So we'll let you know. Post game, we're going to do a quick little rundown, just a quick little video, talk about what we saw, and that we'll update later. We're going to be doing some interviews. We're going to be throwing down some highlights. I'm not commentating like Rob, which, to be honest, is a loss for the FIVB, because I think the trio of Rob and Claire and I would be outstanding.
Yes,
but I'm going to be shooting some highlights throughout the entire time that we're posting on Instagram and on YouTube here, and obviously on TikTok. So it's going to be a big week of content. I won't lie, I'm extremely excited. It hasn't been since March. No, sorry.
February 2020, right?
February 2020 was when my last volleyball event was. My last international event was January of 2020 with the Olympic qualifying tournament in Vancouver. So for me, I'm like itching to go and just to watch some live volleyball again. And I'm even more stoked because this is going to be the first time that I get to meet Rob in person.
About time, and that is an opportunity for me to kind of
look at this self-promotion.
Publicly say, well, this is going to go out later because as I've alluded to this a few times, said in Discord, but might as well just go out and say it. I will be making my live on-site commentary debut next week in Ottawa. Finally, this is. It's basically a dream come true for me. It's a little story time. The first time I was ever exposed to halfway decently high level volleyball that wasn't just like trying out for my team in 7th grade in 2007 was after my freshman year of high school, which wrapped up in like the spring of 2009. I was flipping through my TV channels in the summer of 2009, and I stumbled upon the World League, because back then we actually put volleyball on television in the US, and it was Paul Sunderland and Kevin Barnett commentating, and it was the USA men's team playing World League, just fresh off of winning the Olympics in 2008. So it was Matt Anderson, it was David Lee, it was Sean Rooney, it was some of these guys that, the younger guys that we see a lot in VNL. Well, VNL now, it used to be World League, and some of the older Olympians who just won gold were taking the summer off, and I started learning about international volleyball that summer from watching what is now this tournament. World League turned into VNL in whatever it was, 2018. And that really was what kickstarted the volleyball semi-career that I now have. And so I've been doing so much these last couple years, covering games, commentating things that are overseas, which has all been incredible, but every single bit of that I've done remotely. I've been sitting either in this office or my old office in my other apartment here in Chicago or whatever. To be there in the gym in Ottawa for VNL, to see these national teams play in person for the first time, as a real part of the event, rather than just buying tickets and sitting in the 15th row, this is going to be really, really cool for me. So either me or Claire Hannah or both of us will be on the call for every single men's match in Ottawa. There's 2 matches next Tuesday and Wednesday, and then there's 3 matches Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Bunch of huge teams are there. Canada is there, obviously. New look Canada with Ben Josephson. That's going to be fun. Bulgaria, Serbia, Germany is there with a brand new coach. Poland is there with a brand new coach we just talked about. Argentina is there. They just won Olympic bronze. France is there. They just won Olympic gold, and they're scrimmaging Canada just before. Italy is there. They just won European championships, and we have no idea who they're going to bring, how they're going to manage their roster. So really the only thing it's missing for me as a fan is the USA. The USA will be in Brazil instead.
Oh, man, honestly, if the US was there, it would have been a time, because Ottawa filled up in the first year when we had USA. I think there was 7,000 people at the match. It was a scene, and it was a great match. And if you had been there,
who won that match again? Who won that match? Remind me.
Who won in Chicago that year?
I was there. I was at that one. Yeah,
that's what I thought. So
Canada beat
we
us today.
traded wins in our respective hometowns. But I'm just saying that it would have been flipping awesome if Team Canada would have been there. If Team USA would have been in this one, because man, it would have been something else.
But that's okay. I will be there. I'm very excited to have my voice on these matches. It was a huge honor and just a pleasure to do some of these Italian League matches and Champions League this past season. But to be there in real life and to do it for national team season, which I think we've already talked about it on this show, is what the three of us really, really love about volleyball. It's going to be really cool for me. And then I'm obviously going to be a huge part of the content with Everett and Volleyball Source. So like Everett's saying, the pregame shows live, the postgame shows we'll literally record them courtside, and we might even record them for YouTube, but do them on Instagram live, perhaps. We
could do that, for sure.
I think we should. We're going to be doing so much. So to make sure you don't miss any of it, for one, join the Discord. You should have already done that. We talk about it every week. Links in the description. It's the best volleyball group chat community on the planet by far. It's grown a lot in the past couple of weeks. So
we're basically at 500 people now, which is insanity, because we were at 300 a couple of weeks ago. So it's been big.
I've seen people bring it up on random places, be like, "Oh, yo, this is pro volleyball Discord. We got it's happening. We got the momentum going.
It's happening.
The movement's happening,
and the momentum is going to continue as we're going to be at VNL. So this is going to be a big week for Volleyball Source. Obviously, we've got the shows going on in the mornings, shows going on in the evenings. We might do some special Twitch content just for the Discord.
I think we should bring it up now. Let's just put it out to the community a little bit for the people watching. How would you feel if we brought on a YouTube membership to allow to some other content, allow access to some other content? We've had some ideas of maybe doing some Volleyball Source late night stuff. Sit around the living room, have a few pops, get a little wiggly, and then kind of see where it goes. But of course, that kind of stuff can't just be there all out willy-nilly for the public to see. So it kind of has to be behind a paywall. So you guys let us know if you would like a Volleyball Source YouTube membership to get some maybe behind the scenes and some other stuff from us and the world of volleyball.
Well, regardless, I think it's a great idea, and we'll figure out something we can do next week. But we're going to be pumping so much out that the best way to get all of it, join the Discord. Make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel, because this YouTube channel is going to be absolutely popping off next week. And I know I don't want to do the cringy YouTuber thing and ask you to do this, but you should actually legitimately turn on notifications for this YouTube channel just for next week. There's a bell icon.
Even if it's just for next week.
Right. There's a bell icon that you can press that the cringy YouTubers will tell you to press in all their videos. But what it'll do is email you when we go live or when we upload a video. And I legitimately think that'll be the best way to know every time we're actively talking about something related to VNL or we upload a video about VNL. It's actually the best idea. So do that just for next week. You don't have to do it all the time. But this YouTube channel is going to be a huge platform. Volleyball Source Instagram, huge platform. My Instagram at rstclair1 will be huge. Dan's Instagram at 51VB, once he gets there, will be huge. We're going to be doing a bunch of stuff, the three of us together. It's going to be tremendous. So just make sure you know where on the internet you can get all that stuff that we're going to be throwing at you from Ottawa, because we will all be there in person, and it will be incredible.
And obviously, if you are in Ottawa if you are in Ottawa in person, please let us know. Come say hi. We'd love to see the people who we literally interact with day by day,
all the time on the Discord, just constantly.
I know Joe Canuck, you're going to be in the chat, as she calls us, cringy rich YouTubers, and trust me, we are the furthest thing from rich YouTubers. If you ever saw the back end of this channel, it's not quite back up to the Volleyball Source OG channels just yet. We're getting a little bit better, but
next week's gonna help.
Next week should help. Definitely not cringe YouTubers, but Joe, obviously come say hi. And then furthermore, if you are a fan of Italy or of Poland or whatever it is, shoot us your questions. We are going to be there. You want to ask the head coach something, let us know. If you're from France, you want to ask Gianni something, you want to ask Ingabeth something, we are going to be there. We can interview these athletes. We can be your eyes and ears streams for the entire event. So please interact with us on our socials, on the Discord, because we do this because we enjoy it, but ultimately we also do it for you guys, the fans, right? So make sure you let us know what you want to hear about. If you're from different places, let us know the different storylines that are going on. Obviously, our lives are very North American centric, and we follow Team USA and Team Canada a lot, but we'd love to make this as collaborative as possible. And so, yeah, let us know what you want to see. Let us know what you want to hear, and we'll try to give you guys the best coverage we can.
Dan, you're a media guy. You did this for a living for a while. What is it that's different about being there in person in terms of the content that we can pump out to the people?
Well, just you pick up so much more in person. Like it's crazy the amount. And I've shared a lot of them on my podcast. I've shared a couple of them with you guys. A lot more, unfortunately, are gonna be staying in the bank for a while. But there's just a lot of little. But even just from a sports perspective, first of all, Volleyball Live is like the best thing ever.
It's by far the best thing ever.
Infinitely better.
I'm looking forward, Rob. And by the way, well deserved. Congrats on this opportunity. Like it's amazing, well deserved. And I'm selfishly very happy because it's going to be nice to hear you instead of some of the other guys. But I'm expecting there to be some very nice anecdotes, because the best part about being a service and volleyball is so different in this regard, and it's one aspect that we're still lucky in the sport, that you have such great access to the players. You're so close to them. They're for the most part very chill, so you can pick up a ton of stories, a ton of information, just being there, being in person. And yeah, I'm excited to hear those anecdotes on the call and on the live shows and stuff.
Yes, there will be a bunch of them. You're absolutely right. I can't wait to just mix it up with the athletes just being there, because it's not
Sunday night. We will.
Oh yeah, it's not like the NBA. It's not like the NBA. It's not like there aren't the barriers that there are totally in different. Some of the gigantic sports. NBA, soccer, American football, whatever. There just aren't those, and we're going to be inside the ropes. We're going to be walking around. We can talk to basically whoever we want. So, and yeah, that'll come through on the broadcast. That'll come through in all the live shows we do here on the Volleyball Source channel. Like, there will be so much awesome stuff other than the games on the court that will come out of this weekend. And the last thing that we have to make clear is to watch these. volleyballworld.tv. They have I think a little promo code that went out the other day. Come to the Discord, we can give you that. But I heard also they're showing these on CBC in Canada, at least just Canada's matches. Is that correct?
CBC online, cbcsports.ca.
Yeah.
If you're Canadian, you can watch all the Canadian matches. That includes tomorrow's women's match. So going to be stoked for that one as well. Rob, you know what I'm the most excited for is Monday. Like, one of my favorite days when it comes to VNL or any of these is the day before, where you just get to hang around the gym. You watch the teams practice. You kind of watch them interact and stuff like that. Because other than that, like when it comes to game time, they come in, they do their warm up, they play the game, and then they leave. So you really don't see that much. But then when you watch them on like the days leading up to it, is really the best time. So like that day is going to be like the best. I know you're going to be like a kid in this candy store, because we're going to do a lot of interviews that day.
I think we should just like set up a camera, stream that practice live, because there's no restrictions about it. Like hop on a mic, talk about the things going on behind us.
There's 100% restrictions about that.
Are there? About practice?
Oh, absolutely.
Dang it.
Yeah.
You can ask though. Sometimes they might be able to give you permission.
One of my old most watched videos on the old YouTube channel was called Cuba Hates Our Videos, and it was at the 2016 Olympic qualifiers in Edmonton, and I was filming, like I wasn't even filming the court, I was filming myself, and I got kicked out of the gym by Team Cuba. So, and like the polls are like notorious for not allowing like cameras and stuff like that. Like a lot of teams, like first, a lot of it you like should only be filming for like 5-10 minutes, and after that they say like no cameras and stuff like that. So, well, yeah,
there's one part I really, if you guys can get this, I would love you guys. Volleys, because a lot of teams warm up with volleyball tennis before the matches.
Oh,
if you guys
I love
ever
that.
Played that.
Volleys is not, Volleys and short court, guaranteed.
Yeah,
if you guys can get that, I love that. Okay.
Yeah. Those are great. I see those on Trentino's Instagram all the time. And it just
Rob, you know what we're gonna have to do is, I think you and I are gonna have to film a short court showdown.
Oh, dude, I would 100% play short court. I want to spike some balls. I want to go viral on Instagram for like being a commentator, ripping a 2-ball on the VNL court or something like that. I don't know.
We'll do some fun stuff. Yes. If my good buddy is still the event or the venue director and like the court supervisor, then we should be fine.
Yes. Yeah, this is going to be incredible. So I don't really think we have that much else to talk about on this show, because Brazil beat Germany, by the way, on the women's side, in case you were wondering the updates on that. USA plays Dominican Republic here in a little bit. We've got women's the rest of this week, but there's really not that much to talk about yet because there haven't been that many matches played yet. But again, this time next week, no show next Tuesday, but a ton of shows. Videos,
way more content.
Yeah, shows, videos, interviews, live streams, whatever. Ton of stuff happening on this very YouTube channel. And then on Instagram, really Everett's Instagram and my Instagram will be the keys until Dan gets there. And really just this YouTube channel. There's going to be a ton coming out from Ottawa all right here. So you're not going to want to miss it.
No, definitely not. It's going to be, I'm like so excited. You guys have no idea.
Yeah, I think I have an idea.
Yeah, but is that it for this week? Just Leon and women's VNL and the men's VNL, like
I really think that was it. Yeah, I mean,
we don't really need to talk about like the European Gold League or anything like that. The CEV is that what it's called?
Yeah, there's European Golden League and Silver League. If something happens like when one of those teams wins those leagues and gets a spot in Challenger Cup, we can talk about it. But if you really want to watch even more volleyball, you can go to the CEV's YouTube channel and watch national teams. But I mean, we're all talking about VNL right now.
There's a couple of good matches. The Ukraine matches were fun to watch. But
yeah, I like Ukraine. They'll be at World Championships later this year. All right, boys. I think that might do it. So the next time we're talking to one another will be in person, in all likelihood. Everett, I'll see you on Sunday night, my man. Dan, I'll see you in about a week and a half.
If I don't pick you up at the airport, we can discuss it. But I will definitely pick you up on Sunday night, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go get the best delicacy in Ottawa. We're going to go get an Ottawa shawarma. That's first things first. For all my Ottawa people out there, you know that Ottawa is the shawarma capital of the world outside of the Middle East. There's more shawarma places in Ottawa than anywhere outside of the Middle East. That's the first thing we're going to be doing. And that's, if you're in Ottawa, that's the first thing you all should be doing as well too.
Whew, can't wait. Okay, people, thanks for watching. Enjoy VNL Women's this week. Hop in the Discord because we'll definitely be talking about the USA match tonight. And we will see you live with boots on the ground from Ottawa VNL. Can't wait. Thanks for watching.